you have read these books and you love them, come fight me about it. Welcome back to Books with Lauren. Today's going to be a fun video because I am going to be going over all the books that I find are overrated or overhyped. At least the popular books that I find are overrated or overhyped. It'll be fun because they are just controversial opinions. So if you have read these books and you love them, come fight me about it. If you've read them and you agree with me, let me know as well. But that is to say that I don't think that these are necessarily bad books by any means. Like most of them, I think I even rated like a 3-star, which is average, and they were overall okay books, but they're just books that I find are overhyped. Just me not agreeing with the hype. So we'll get started. I realize I don't even own, I think, most of the books on the list anymore because I either got rid of them or I gave them to other people to read. My favorite thing is having people read books that I personally hate just to see if they agree with me or not. So like I'm convincing my best friend to read one of these books on this list just to see if she agrees with me or if she, I don't know, agrees with the hype of the book. So that is the only book that's on this list though that I actually do hate, but we'll get there. Anyway, we will start with the physical copies that I do have. The first one being A Court of Thorns and Roses. And okay, disclaimer, as we know, I'm not a fantasy reader, so it's kind of a given that I probably won't love this. I think I ended up rating this like maybe a 3.5, 3.75 to be very specific. I think most of that was just pride that I finished it because I don't read fantasy, and it's not that it's like that chunky, but for somebody that doesn't like the genre, this is kind of a commitment to make. So anyway, I did read this past summer. I actually picked it up because I was in Barnes & Noble and I was like, you know what, I need to get out of my element. I'm gonna pick up a book I wouldn't normally read. And this group of girls was walking by and they saw me looking at it and they were like, oh my gosh, you have to read that. We don't like fantasy either, but this is like still a 5 out of 5 star, best book ever. So I was convinced, and so I bought it. And it's, again, not that it's a bad book, but I don't get the hype, and maybe that's also because I haven't finished the series. Like there's several books after this, so I don't know if that's what it is, but like, I don't know. I ended the book and I was just kind of like, okay, like that was my reaction. So I don't know. I definitely don't follow the hype of it, but tell me if I need to continue the series because maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It was okay. It was fine for a fantasy read. So if you're a big fantasy reader though, you may absolutely love this, or you may be picky and also not find this that great. So that is A Court of Thorns and A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm not even gonna cut that out. I think I'll just leave that in there. And then the next book that I actually have, I had very high hopes for because it has amazing reviews. People say it's like life-changing, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I've read The Humans by Matt Haig as well, which I don't think is that overhyped or really hyped up at all. But that was like a very unique, interesting read. So I kind of expected the same from this. I don't know, it just didn't do it. I think I rated it like a 3. It was average. It's not a terrible book, but I thought that there was going to be some kind of like aha moment or maybe some kind of big reveal at the end or something that like really made this book memorable, and it just didn't do that for me. I don't know, I liked the characters. It was kind of fun because you go through like different lives that she lives, but again, it just wasn't memorable. It didn't stick with me. There was nothing that I thought was really like touching about this, which makes me sound heartless, but yeah, I think it's because it was overhyped. I honestly think if people weren't raving about this, I may have even liked it more, but I went into it with such high expectations that my expectations weren't really met. So that's Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I think that this one might be very controversial because people absolutely adore this book, but let me know what you think if you read this or if you agree with me. And then I don't have physical copies of the rest of them, but I'll just get the book that I absolutely despise out of the way, and that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I hate that book. I just find that nothing happened. It was so hyped, and I went into it being like, oh my gosh, this is gonna change my life. This is gonna change my reading. it was boring. Nothing happened. The characters to me were so flat, so felt like I was reading monotone voices. Like, you know the feeling that you get when you're listening to somebody that is monotone? That's how I felt like the whole time I was reading that book. And then again, like The Midnight Library, I kept reading and I was like, you know what, there must be something great in this book. This is why people love it, so I will make it to the end. It's not even a long book, but it took me a while to get through. I made it to the end. Still, nothing had happened. There was no happy ending. There wasn't even like a sad ending. It was just kind of like meh. I do have her 2 other books, Conversations with Friends and Beautiful World, Where Are You? And I'm gonna read those to see if I can become a Runer, which is what I call Sally Rooney fans, or if she's just not for me as an author. I don't know. I'm hoping I like her other reads and it's just that normal people didn't do it for me, but I'm gonna try to go in there with absolutely no bias in my mind when I read those books. So I think I'm gonna vlog about it, so we will maybe see that upcoming. But yeah, that is Normal People. That's the book that I am like begging my best friend to read because I just want to know what her thoughts are about it, if she agrees with me or if she agrees with the hype. I don't know. I think that's a very polarizing book though as well, because I know that there's other people like me that just can't stand that book. But all right, moving on. Next on my list, since I don't have them in person, I feel like I need to like read off my list. Okay. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Did read The People We Meet on Vacation and I absolutely adored that book. I thought it was so cute. It was fun. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, which for like a romance contemporary fiction book, that's pretty good for me because those just usually aren't memorable. I mean, they're like fun reads and lighthearted, but nothing that I like think about after I've read the book, I guess. But for whatever reason, I really liked that book. So I have nothing against Emily Henry as an author. I think she's great, but her first novel, Beach Read, just wasn't for me. I don't know. The characters were okay. The setting was okay. Even the backstory was okay. But like the whole, them just writing books within a book, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. I got a little bit bored reading that one. I don't know. Again, not a bad book. I think it's like a 3-star, which is fine, but I feel like that's a big TikTok book and I don't know really what the hype is about. So that's that, but I am excited, I will say, to read her book coming out this summer, I believe. Either summer or maybe it's like September, October. I think it's summer though. But anyway, it's Book Lovers by her. So excited about that one and I will definitely read it because again, I loved People We Meet on Vacation. And then for a thriller that I find overhyped is The Last Thing He Told Me. This I feel like was everywhere over the summer. It is part of Reese's book club as well, and I typically trust her recommendations, except for this book and the book Lucky. I'm not a big fan of that either. I really didn't like that one, but that's a different story. So, The Last Thing He Told Me, I don't own that because I was reading it at the pool and my mom could tell that I wasn't like that into it, and a lady that was sitting next to us was like, oh, I've been wanting to read that, but not sure if I should buy it. And then I was like, oh, you can just have her copy. So I had to give this random woman at the pool my book after I had finished it at the pool because I felt awkward being like, no, but I don't actually care because it wasn't that great. So I was like, you know what, if this makes somebody else happy, have at it. But yeah, that was supposed to be like a mind-blowing thriller. Nothing about it blew my mind. My mind's still in here, not blown. So in short, just again, wasn't for me. And then, ooh, this one's probably the most controversial because people freaking love this book, and it's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Again, huge fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love, 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 love Evelyn Hugo. I even loved One True Loves by her, but this book, I don't know if it was the style that it was written in, which for some people I think is what makes the book. But basically it's all in interview style. You're following like a band, which I've also learned, I think, that I don't really care about like the music industry in books, which is like very specific. But if we're following a band or some kind of musician, I don't get that into it for some reason. I don't know if it's just because I can't relate. I don't know. But anyway, we're following a band and basically they are giving an interview. So you're reading it all in dialogue. And you're reading it like you would if you were like reading a transcript for a podcast, basically. Like it says the name and then what they said. So that was definitely interesting. And I think, again, like I said, I think for some people that's what makes it so amazing for them. But for me, I didn't really care for that style. I, again, don't really care for like the musician industry or band industry. I thought that it was fun that it took place in the 70s. That was a nice touch. But that book just, normally her characters sit with me for a while, and that I already forget half of their names other than Daisy Jones. So that one was just another 3-star read for me, which from Taylor Jenkins Reid is not very good. So definitely my least favorite of hers that I've read. And that's really it for all of the recent popular reads that I find are extremely overrated or overhyped. Again, not bad, just kind of average reads for me. So if you've read them, let me know what you think. Were they average for you? Do you agree with the hype? I don't know, try to change my opinion maybe. But yeah, hopefully I will have a more positive video coming up, because I feel like I was just really, really negative about these books. So anyway, that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for more. Bye.